I'd like to share the story about Andres Torres. He's the leadoff hitter and center fielder for the New York Mets. And before that, the leadoff hitter and center fielder for the San Francisco Giants, including in 2010 when they won the World Championship of Baseball. Andres Torres has a great story, not just because he has ADHD and has been successful, but because he persisted for a long time with not being successful, but still staying with baseball long enough to finally get treated successfully and become a successful major league player. His story is really interesting. So interesting, in fact, that one of the owners of the San Francisco Giants financially supported a movie being made about his life because he thought it was so interesting. And it's in production now, and it should be out as we speak. This is April of 2012, sometime in the summer. His story is interesting because of his skill set and his persistence. He was thought of very highly when he came out into professional baseball in the year 2000, but then spent almost a decade in the minor leagues before getting his chance at the major league level. Something was holding him back. He was not consistent. He was unable to perform at a level that would get him even high enough up in the minor leagues to get prepared for Major League Baseball. He discovered that he had ADHD in 2002, tried medication for a short time. It didn't go well, and so he stopped using it. And a few years later, about 4 years later, he was now in the Chicago Cubs system, his fourth team. And one of the coordinators for the Cubs minor league organization suggested to him that he might want to try again to do something about his ADHD, that seemed to be holding him back. And so he did. He tried medication again, and this time did it right, and it was very successful. He immediately went from being an inconsistent player to hitting nearly 300 in AAA in the Chicago Cubs system, which is the highest minor league system. And there, he went on to the major leagues afterwards and became a very successful player. Not many players get to be starting for Major League Baseball in their lives, and not many players get to be on a championship team, but he did. And he did so by finding not only that he had ADHD, but finding the right kind of treatment. It really changed his life. What I love about this story is not just because he seems to be a great guy, charismatic, very intensely enthusiastic about playing baseball, and really with enough confidence to believe that he could finally do it even after spending almost 10 years toiling at the minor league level. I love that story of persistence and resilience. What I also like about the story is that I read about how many players, like Andres Torres, are being given an exemption for being on this kind of medication. Baseball, as we all know, is very sensitive to the idea of using performance-enhancing drugs and using illegal drugs. So they ban lots of drugs, including stimulants like Adderall, Dexedrine, Ritalin, the kind used for ADHD. However, if you get diagnosed in Major League Baseball with ADHD, and so there's a very clear therapeutic reason to take it, you can get what they call a special therapeutic use exemption. And I found out not only Andres Torres, but 111 players in 2011 were given this special use exemption. Out of those 111 players, and that's for all the medications that are banned by baseball, unless you have this exemption, and out of those 111 players, 105 of them were given the exemption because they were diagnosed with ADHD and allowed to take these medicines. That sounds like a pretty high number to most people. In fact, that means that 2 to 3 players at any given time during the year on any team are being treated for ADHD. That sounds like a lot. However, when you look at the percentage of players being given medication diagnosed with ADHD, it's not different than what we estimate the population statistics would really predict. In other words, out of Major League Baseball, there would be around 100 players or so who could be diagnosed with ADHD based on population statistics. So baseball is an organization that is not only identifying and allowing players to identify themselves and get treated for ADHD, they're supporting the treatment even though the medications used could be controversial given that they are banned for general use, like steroids are. However, they also know that medications, when used appropriately and well, are not abusable. They're not just performance enhancing. They're meant to deal with a condition that can, in getting treated for, change a person's life, as it did with Andres Torres. A great story.